Being a Longhorn is opportunity, pride, achievement, community, safety. Being a Longhorn is a choice to become a hero, to lead, to thrive in any setting. Being a Longhorn means immersing yourself in fine arts, learning at your own pace in Montessori, starting your path to college in elementary, earning a college degree in high school. The pride of being a Longhorn lives on long after graduation. Educate, empower, inspire.
Good evening, Longhorn family. My name is Alicia Davis, Director of Family and Community Engagement with Cedar Hill ISD. And I am welcoming you to our first digital parent university for the school year. And we have such a special treat because we have a very special department who we are going to spotlight and give a bit of some updates about. And that is our special education department. Now, I do want to remind you of some upcoming events, if you are not aware. This Saturday, we will be in your neighborhood. If you live in the Windsor Park area, we will be partnering with the city of Cedar Hill, and we will be conducting the neighborhood walk. So I will be coming to your door and talking to you and perhaps leaving some information with you, as well as several people from the city staff and the Cedar Hill Police Department. On, Tuesday of next week, we will have another digital parent university, and that's going to be in conjunction with Gear Up and their Go Get It Week. And it's going to be called Financing Your Future. So it's going to be about filling out the FAFSA as well as preparing for and financing for college. We also have our open houses both on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So we will have the elementary open houses on Wednesday. The elementary ones will be at 5:30 p.m. at all elementary campuses. And then at Bessie Coleman Middle School and Perimeter Middle School, they will be at 6 o'clock p.m. On the 29th, Collegiate Academy and High School and Cedar Hill High School will host their open houses at 5:30 p.m. Also on the 29th at 11:30 a.m., we have our State of the District, where our superintendent will give an update on our district to the community. Also, please be reminded that it's an important time to make sure you are registered to vote. Early voting is from October the 24th to November the 4th. And then the last day to register to vote to ensure that you are registered is October 11th. So those are some important dates, okay? Oh my goodness. Who do we have here? Our very, very special guest, our solo guest. We have our Executive Director of Special Education, Ms. Derica Turner. And you are in for a special treat because this is her presentation. She's going to talk to you about the special education department, what they do, the services they provide, as well as answer questions you might have. And of course, we did issue a thought exchange in preparation for this Digital Parent University. So we will address those submissions first, and then we will do the live Q&A after that. All right. Without further ado, we will have Ms. Turner take it away.
Good evening, families. I'm so excited to be here with you to share with you some of the special education updates. I'm going to begin with our department. We have a brand new staff of individuals, some returning staff members, but I'm also excited to share some of our new staff members. So supporting with our elementary will be Stephanie Gardner. She is the elementary coordinator. And for special education, she will be supporting resource and inclusion as well as our life skill settings for elementary. Then we have Lachelle Washington. She will be supporting our secondary campuses, skill and resource and inclusion. Miss Tamisha Lincoln is returning. She is working as our K through 8 literacy specialist, and she is our point of contact for dyslexia here in the district. And then we have two leads for our evaluation staff. Our lead diagnostician is Miss Wintrell Maiden, and our lead speech language pathologist is Miss Michelle Wells. She is returning, and she stepped into a leadership role, and we're so excited to have her in that role. We have Ms. Lindsay Davis, who is serving as our transition specialist. This individual, she is supporting at the secondary level to ensure that our students are prepared for life after high school. She's supporting with community partnerships, and she is rocking and rolling. We're excited to have her. To support as our K through 12 504 specialist, we have Ms. Kimberly Belcher. And then, of course, Ms. Reed is our secretary, department secretary. We have a Medicaid clerk, Ms. Beverly Berry, and we have a data clerk who will be supporting to make sure that all of our documentation is submitted in Skyward and through our data management system. So we are excited to have a staff that is able to support campuses and families. Although we are filling up our staff and we are so excited that we have some new people, we do have some vacancies that we need to fill. And so on the screen, you'll see we're still looking for a compliance administrator at the elementary level. This individual is a certified administrator who supports our elementary campuses to ensure that compliance is happening when we are writing our IEPs, supports the campus to ensure that we are able to have ARD meetings in the event that a campus administrator is not present. We do have one at the secondary level with Miss Latoya Hollins. We are currently seeking a vision specialist. We are needing life skill teachers and inclusion teachers as well as paraprofessionals. So we are right now contracting with two licensed specialists in school psychology. They are helping to assist our evaluation staff with completing our full individual evaluations. And so if you know anyone, send them our way. I am recruiting because we need to fill our team. You'll also see on the screen, I just want to go ahead and plug it right now. Our theme and our motto for the department this year is to be tapped in. Tapped in stands for transforming academic progress and partnerships every day. So the goal of the department is to not only ensure that our scholars are progressing academically, but that we also create partnerships within our community and the Metroplex to support our scholars outside of the school environment. All right, so as many of you know, families, I'm sure you are aware, last year we went through an audit and we were able to just get some information about how we can grow and be better as a special education department. And from that audit gave teachers, paraprofessionals, family members, community members, campus administrators, even the leadership team had an opportunity to share in this audit and give feedback. And from that audit, we were able to work with Region 10 and get 4 pillars of success that we want to work on this school year and in the school years to come to ensure that we are providing high quality services. And so the first pillar is our organizational structure. We want to make sure that we have the correct bodies in place to support our scholars and our campuses. So that kind of just goes back to the organizational chart and the leadership staff that has been hired so far and what we're still looking to accomplish with staffing. The second is our procedures, processes, practices, and expectations. Say that 3 times fast. We are really looking to refine our procedures and practices and the expectations that we have for our scholars, our teachers, our campus administrators, us as a department. We want to refine those practices. We want to make sure that they are visible for you to access and know what we are expecting and what we should be doing. And we want to make sure that we have procedures in place for you to be able to contact individuals when you have questions. We are also, our third pillar is the internal monitoring system, which basically means how are we as a special education department monitoring the things that are happening in the department? Are we reviewing IEPs? Are we providing opportunities for us to inspect our expectations. And so that's our third pillar. And then finally, being able to provide professional development and resources to not only our teachers and paraprofessionals, but our families as well. And so those are our four pillars of success that will lead us in the work that we do this year. I gave a graphic of our leadership definition because we want to make sure that what we're doing in this department aligns with our district's leadership definition. So I do have a few updates for the 22-23 school year. I'll start with instruction. So we have two sides. We have instruction and then we also have compliance. And so on the instruction side, we are wanting to just revamp and tap into our academic progress by collaborating more with our academics department. One of the things we were able to do this year was train all of our new to district general education teachers on the expectations of what they should be doing to support a scholar in their classroom. As you know, any student who receives services for special education are general ed scholars first. So we want to make sure that we had an opportunity to speak to our gen ed teachers and give them some information about how to best support scholars in the classroom setting. We also have all of our resource and inclusion teachers participating in the Reading Academy. We are going through the second cohort, and we have 3 staff members right now who are going through the Reading Academy. In our life skill, our self-contained setting from early childhood special education all the way to our 18 plus transition classrooms, we have acquired a new curriculum. It is called Teach Town. And so every scholar from early childhood all the way up to the 18 plus program will have a curriculum that will follow them from the very beginning of their education in special education to the very end. This is important because we want our scholars to be able to see some consistency in the instructional practices, the resources that they see. And so providing this resource and this curriculum to all of our classroom settings in the life skills setting is going to be very beneficial. We also utilize it in our self-contained behavior setting. And so we're looking forward to seeing great progress there. Our K-8 literacy specialists will be working to support our teachers to help implement high-quality Tier 3 instruction. Tier 3 instruction is individualized instruction, and that is what we do here in special education. We provide individualized, specifically designed instruction for scholars. And so she is working very diligently to ensure that there are resources available, but also that they are utilizing their small group time effectively. We also are providing training for our staff. The training that we're providing for staff includes just understanding the roles and responsibilities of being a special educator, not just the instruction that is provided, but the compliance piece. Our teachers have 2 roles. They have to write IEPs and then they have to implement the IEP. So we want to make sure that they are aware of their roles and responsibilities and can do so with fidelity. One of our main focuses for this school year is to ensure that we are writing quality PLAF statements. That stands for present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. It's a long acronym that simply says, if you are writing a statement that identifies the strengths and areas of concern for a scholar as it relates to their classroom progress, their functional levels, their academic levels, their behavior levels, anything that has to do with their current present levels of performance. If you can write that out with fidelity, if you can identify strengths and areas of concern, then you can develop a well-written IEP for anyone to implement and follow. So our focus is to ensure that we are writing statements that lead to a really good developed IEP for our students. From there, we're going to work on training our teachers on how to write goals and objectives. If their present level statements are in good shape, then that should drive the goals that are written. Goals for scholars should be driven by their present levels. We want to write goals for our scholars that are not only aligned to their grade level curriculum, but address their areas of need. So we'll start with present levels, we'll continue to goals and objectives, and then we are currently along with the PLAF statements addressing transition to ensure that our scholars are prepared for life after high school, whether that be they go into the workforce, they go into college or another university, or if they're going to be living at home or going into a residential facility. We want to make sure that we are creating opportunities for them to be connected to those next steps. One thing that we want to revisit from that last school year is our co-teach models. We started the work of really diving deep into the inclusion setting with our special education teachers and what we are expecting them to do in the classroom setting when they are supporting general education teachers, and how do they work in conjunction together in the classroom setting. We don't want to see, our teachers just kind of have that space in the room where they're just kind of sitting and observing. We want them to get in to the thick of things in the classroom and support and collaborate with teachers and to support all scholars. So we're going to revisit that training and reinforce that this year. As it relates to dyslexia, we are in the process of completing our screeners and looking at the progress of our students who are now in 7th grade. We have sent our dyslexia specialists through assessment training. They are going to be helping to administer some of our assessments to identify if we have any scholars who are needing to be evaluated through special education. They also attend a monthly roundtable that gives updates about dyslexia as we move through preparing for a vast majority of scholars who may need to be screened for dyslexia. So they are in training. They have learned how to administer those assessments, those standardized assessments, so that we are able to move through the screeners and any scholars who are at risk efficiently. Our dyslexia specialists are using the platform or curriculum called Amplify. This is our 2nd year using it. I've had an opportunity to be in the classroom and see a live lesson. It can be conducted through technology in a virtual setting, but it also can be done face-to-face. And so our specialists have been using both the virtual or the digital platform, as well as using some of the print resources to support scholars based on their needs. And then finally, we are auditing our IEPs. And so what I mean by that is every IEP, every ARD meeting that is conducted in the district, I am reviewing them. I am reading them. I'm taking notes. I'm giving feedback, and I'm ensuring that they are compliant. Myself, the coordinators, our transition specialists, and the compliance administrator will take part in this process as well. Our goal is to review every single IEP meeting that happens for the 22-23 school year to ensure that we have well-developed IEPs and that the information that is presented to parents in meetings are accurate, that we are inspecting our expectations, and that we are just making sure that we are taking a fine-tooth comb through the information that is put forth for our scholars to ensure that it is appropriate. We're specifically looking at the schedule of services for scholars in grades 6 through 12th grade for transition, but we're reading IEPs to ensure that we have eligibility correct, that we have the appropriate accommodations for scholars, that we are ensuring testing accommodations and identifying, are we having students in the appropriate placement, the least restrictive environment for their abilities? And so we're reviewing those IEPs to make sure that we are servicing our scholars appropriately. On the compliance side, which basically means, are we following the letter of the law when it comes to special education? There has been a refined initial referral process for our department. The process has been that a person or a campus will request an evaluation, whether it is a parent request or a scholar's gone through the RTI process, and now the recommendation is that the scholar be evaluated for special education. Any request for evaluation will now go through, and that's not just for Cedar Hill, that is by law. We must give a full individualized evaluation. That means we're looking at the cognitive, behavioral, functional, psychological. It is a full evaluation. And so to ensure that we are doing that in a timely manner, from the time that the request is made, I'm requiring in our department that there's documentation along the way. So from the time that the request is made, we are documenting the date of the request, the date that the referral is submitted. The referral packet is submitted to the campus and families, the date that the packet has returned to us for review, and then we are documenting the evaluation timeline. The evaluation timeline is set by TEA, and we are going to follow that timeline. As soon as we get that packet back, we have 15 school days to notify our families of the evaluation process. We have 45 days to complete the evaluation, 30 days to write the report and give that information to the parent, and of course schedule an ARD meeting. And so we are going to follow that evaluation timeline, but just the extra added step of documenting when that request is made and when we are putting information out to the campuses and families, so that we are not having evaluations pending and parents are waiting. We understand that that is a very stressful process, and it's already a long process. So we want to make sure that we're doing that in a timely fashion. Same thing for our Department 504 specialist. We have Ms. Belcher. She is going to be handling all of our initial referrals for a 504, any scholar who transfers into the district with a 504 plan, and our homebound 504 request. That is to support the campuses to ensure that we're able to continue with supporting and getting our annual 504s completed, but we know that we have a high number of scholars transferring in, and so we want to support the campuses by having that taken off of their plate. So Ms. Belcher is doing an amazing job of handling that right now. We are currently in the middle of working through our transition plan, our post-secondary goals for scholars who are 16 and up. This is our indicator 13 with TEA, which simply says that we are providing services for scholars that are adequate, that will allow them to be successful after high school. So a part of that plan is training for our teachers and our staff, our paraprofessionals, campus administrators, training on how to write post-secondary goals, an inspection on how we are coordinating activities for our scholars who are that are based on those goals. So for example, if we have a scholar who wants to be in a culinary environment or culinary career, are we coordinating activities in the school environment and in the community that will allow them to practice that and be successful? We're developing some community partnerships, and one thing that we're looking forward to is creating a course for our 18 plus life skills setting that allows them to actually have a course to prepare them for their functional living outside of high school. And then just at the end of that, again, reiterating that we are auditing our IEPs and taking a deep dive into each IEP that is written this year. Just a few highlights from this school year, 2022 so far. Here's what we've done so far. We have increased our community partnerships. Some of them have been existing and we've just revamped, added some things, have made some connections. But we are excited about our partnership with Chili's, New to You Thrift Store, the Zula B. Wiley Library, the Animal Shelter, and Babe's Chicken. We have department support that is just kind of put into place to ensure that as a leadership team and as a department, we are doing everything we can to support our scholars. We're working directly with Region 10. I personally am a member of the new directors group. It is basically a support accountability group for directors with 1 to 3 years experience. And so I'm excited to learn and grow with other new directors. We receive support from the dyslexia staff, the transition staff, the finance staff, Special Olympics, and adaptive PE. This year, we are excited to continue with Special Olympics. We are competing in 4 sports this year. Bowling is currently happening right now. We'll move into flag football skills and then basketball skills, a basketball team. We compete against other districts with a basketball team, and then track and field. Last year, we had a unified track team with 2 individuals from the general education setting competing with 2 individuals from our special education setting, and they were able to run a relay. I'll tell you, we ran a 4x1. I believe it was in less than a minute. So we're coming back. And we're coming back strong. So we're excited about that. We also are going to have a Special Olympics banquet this year. We want to celebrate all of the success that our scholars are having across the entire year with Special Olympics. Families, I'm sure you know you're accustomed to your scholars receiving a Letterman jacket at the end of their junior year to rep all through their senior year. But we want to celebrate all of our scholars from elementary all the way up. And so we're going to have a banquet in the spring to just celebrate their success. Our department leadership team has completed the first level of results-based coaching. Our goal is to truly be able to get on campuses and support teachers in the school environment. We don't want our teachers to feel as though they are isolated or working in silo. We want to support them by providing coaching practices that our general education staff are getting. And so we have completed the first level of training, and we're excited to implement those. The last thing that we're just really excited about is our campus presence and support. We have been able to get on campuses a lot more in the first 6 weeks of school, and we're excited to continue that practice, just getting an opportunity to see scholars, see families, work with our teachers, and meet new staff, because we do have a lot of new staff. One thing that we're bringing back this year is our evaluation roundtable. This is an opportunity for our multidisciplinary team to come together and collaborate on the evaluations that they are completing. So oftentimes when the evaluation is completed, the assessment portion is completed, and the diagnostician or the speech language pathologist has to go back and review all of the data they've collected and make a determination or make a recommendation of eligibility. And so one of the things that was important to the team this year was to bring that evaluation roundtable back so that we would have multiple eyes on evaluations, and so that we were not working in silo and not supporting our evaluation staff to make the right decisions for scholars. Giving a label or giving an eligibility or labeling a scholar with special needs is very difficult. It can be a very trying process, and so it's a heavy task. And so we don't want just one person having to make that decision. We want a unified team to review our evaluations and make sure that we're making the right decisions for our scholars. I do want to just spend some time just reiterating some things that parents can do to be prepared for the art process. Art season is upon us. We've already conducted about 40 ARDs this school year. We're just in the first 6 weeks of school, and we have 665 total to complete for the year. And so I want to just give a few tips that parents can do to be prepared for that meeting. The first is just to make a list of your concerns and your suggestions. Know that everything does not have to be completed in an ARD meeting. I know that that's our safety blanket. Sometimes it's like, I need to have an ARD meeting because we're not doing what we're supposed to do for my baby. Sometimes, a parent conference can address those things. But in the event that there is truly a concern that you want addressed in an ARD meeting, make a list of those concerns. Make out some of your suggestions that you think would best support your scholar in the decision making. You're a part of that committee, and so your voice is valuable as well. Make sure that you're checking your emails, your voicemails for your ARD notifications. We're responsible for providing 3 notifications: the initial invitation, a second notice of an IEP meeting, and then just a friendly reminder to let you know that, hey, we have an ARD meeting coming up. We hope to see you there. Be sure to ask questions and seek clarity. I know oftentimes we may talk fast, we use lots of acronyms. And so if you're confused or you need something clarified, be sure to ask those questions, specifically when it's time to read the deliberations in your art meeting. If there's something that was missed or you don't hear it, be sure to ask, because those deliberations should be a full synopsis, a good summary of what happened in the meeting. Always be sure to review your rights to the art meeting and your notice of procedural safeguards. It is the expectation of this department that procedural safeguards are offered and explained to our parents every time we speak to a parent in regards to their scholar. So just know your rights, know what is expected of you in participation of the art, but also know what is expected of each individual in that art committee. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Turner. And I do see some questions that are being asked, and I do see some questions referring to specific students. Is there, just before I go into the thought exchange, but is there a proper way to contact specific individuals in the special education department if they have questions pertaining to their child?
Absolutely. The first thing I would suggest is that you start with your scholar's case manager. Every campus has a special education teacher, at least one on campus, or a paraprofessional who is supporting scholars. Start with the campus case manager to get any questions answered. From there, they will collaborate a lot with our campus diagnostician. So those two individuals will be the first point of contact, the campus case manager and diagnostician. From there, I encourage you to reach out to campus administration. We don't want to circumvent our campuses. We want to support, but we don't want to jump over their heads. We want to follow the proper chain of command. But I will say, if you are not able to get the questions that you need answered at the campus level, please feel free to reach out to our coordinators. Again, the elementary coordinator is Ms. Stephanie Garner. The secondary coordinator is Ms. Lachelle Washington. We work very closely together, and so we collaborate to get any support that you need. But I would say start with the case manager.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we are going to go. Let me put my thought exchange banner up and put us on the screen like this. Here we go. All right. So thank you, parents and guardians, for submitting questions via thought exchange. And again, we will address those first, and then we will go and address the questions that are posed tonight during the live broadcast. Okay, so this first question I see, Ms. Turner, it says, how can we test for learning disabilities?
Okay. So just like I'll reiterate what I said in the presentation, there's two processes. Every scholar should be receiving a high quality tier 1 instruction. That means that you go into the general education setting and you are receiving high quality instruction. If you feel that your scholar is struggling or there are some concerns, definitely start with that parent conference, address your concerns, see what interventions are put in place for your scholars in the general education setting. We do have an RTI process, response to intervention, which basically means that if a scholar is not responding to the tier 1 instruction that is provided in the classroom setting, we must intervene and provide strategies to support that scholar. And so we have RTI meetings throughout the school year to identify scholars who are not responding to those interventions. That process requires a meeting to discuss interventions that happen regularly and consistently over time. If those interventions are not working, then of course the campus team will make a recommendation that we move forward with an evaluation for special education. We also have parents who make requests for evaluations, and we start the initial referral process from that written request from a parent. So if you are concerned and you're looking to try to get some of those questions answered, I would start with just what interventions are happening on campus and are they working? And then, of course, if it's a dire situation and you just feel like, I know there's something there, you can make a parent request.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this second question says, What is the district doing to ensure that students are receiving IEP services,
Mhm.
i.e., homebound vision, speech, etc., despite staff shortages?
Very good question. So we do have scholars who receive services through homebound vision and speech. We are actually fully staffed with our speech department. We have seven, a combination of speech language pathologists and speech language pathologist assistants who are servicing our campuses. So we're fully staffed with our speech department. We do not have a vision specialist. And so we have been working to support campuses by providing supplements and resources. We have reached out to contracted services to see if we can get someone to contract with us. However, most of our vision specialists are wanting to work virtually. Um, that's a difficult task to have a scholar who needs services for vision in a virtual setting. So we are going to work diligently to find a staff member or a contracted service professional who would be willing to provide face-to-face services. It is very important that we have some hands-on support for our scholars. We do have two virtual LSSPs, but as it relates to direct services, we want to get as many face-to-face staff members as we possibly can. As it relates to homebound, we utilize our district staff for homebound services. In the self-contained settings, our teachers serve as homebound teachers. At the high school level, if there are any scholars on 504 or they're off campus for whatever reason, whether it be emergency or some situation like that, the high school teachers are supporting through using Edgenuity. And so we do not have a open position for homebound because we utilize our district staff. That is an extra duty pay assignment, so it does happen after school. So we work very closely to try to accommodate families after school. But I will be honest and say finding our homebound teachers to serve after school has been difficult. But we got some amazing staff members who have jumped in to provide support. So we're covered there. The only place we're really looking to supplement is with vision. But we have reached out to Region 10, and they provided some ideas for supplements and some use of grant funds to have transcription and supplemental services provided. Any scholar who is not receiving services during this time while we have staff shortages, we address in the IEP or in the ARD meeting that compensatory services will be provided.
Thank you.
Mhm.
It says, maybe it's no. How do
Okay.
we know when teachers have received the 504 plan? What are our options if the plans are not being executed?
So 504 plans should have been distributed to campus teachers the first 2 weeks of school. Every teacher should have their scholars 504 or IEP goals and objectives and accommodations at this point because services began after school, the first 5 days after school started. And so if you have a concern that the teacher does not have your scholars 504 or IEP, I would just kind of reach out to the teacher and say, have you received my child's 504 or IEP? After the ARD meeting, 5 days after the ARD meeting or IEP meeting for a scholar, we are responsible for distributing the paperwork to every individual who services the scholar. That is the same for 504. So even if there's a change or the annual meeting happens, revised documents should be submitted. In the event that a parent says, I waived my 5 days and I want you to implement this IEP right now, the IEP should be provided to all staff by close of business that day.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
How can we know when kids are struggling with a subject?
Again, I would say reach out to the campus, reach out to your scholar's teacher and ask those questions. If you're looking at Skyward and you're seeing that, grades are not posted or that the grades are looking a little murky, I'm used to my scholar making 85s and 90s and I'm seeing some 60s, or as we're working at home, I hear some things that are concerning to me. I would definitely reach out to the teacher and ask those questions. We have when it comes to special education and 504, we're bound to providing the services that are within that document. But when we're having questions about a scholar that is struggling, we cannot jump in and support that scholar in the special education setting without that evaluation and eligibility. So we can't have our teachers to provide any additional services because that would be putting them in a more restrictive environment. But you can ask those questions and get the ball rolling when it comes to RTI.
Okay. There's some more questions that were not ranked, but there's not that many questions that were submitted, so I can go ahead and ask. Are the students going out for other classes that aren't their special education classes? It is important because some of these classes are required.
So I'm going to assume, I hate to assume, but I'm going to assume that this is a self-contained question, meaning there's a scholar that's receiving services in a self-contained classroom, but they must go out to electives or other activities at the high school level, could be at middle school as well. Those scholars should be going out to their classes. Scheduling is required. So of course, our scholars have to be scheduled in the appropriate courses. What I can tell you from just some of the growing pains we're having this year is to ensure that our scholars are registered in their classes, scheduled for their classes, and that we have a good schedule with our teachers and paraprofessionals who can monitor them as they go out to their classes. So let's just say there's a scholar who should be going to inclusion in an English classroom setting. Then the teacher and the paraprofessional will work together to make sure that the scholar is able to attend that class. One thing that I have noticed, and something that our teachers do have the autonomy to decide, is if the inclusion time for that scholar is not appropriate, they're experiencing some anxiety or some behavioral concerns, we have an opportunity to make the decision to come back, pull back. You go into the classroom setting. If it's not working, we'll pull you out. And you try that consistently. And if it is showing consistently that there's an issue, then of course we go back to ARD and we discuss the schedule of services to make sure that we have them in the appropriate setting. The elementary inclusion setting is a lot different than middle and high school because there's several classes to navigate. So our teachers are working diligently to make sure that the services and the inclusion time that our scholars in self-contained setting get is appropriate. So they may be making some decisions, sending home some notes that's saying, hey, we went in for about 15 minutes, we decided to pull them out. And that's just, making the best and the right decisions for scholars. If they're not able to handle it, we want to make sure we can provide services that they can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are they fully staffed in the self-contained classrooms?
The short answer is no. We are not fully staffed, and I think we have maybe 2 campuses that are fully staffed. Across the district, we are short staffed, and so I don't want to just pinpoint our department as a area of need, but we do need staff. So we do. We are recruiting and we're looking, but no, they are not fully staffed. However, that does not mean that services are not being rendered and support is not being provided at the campus level. Our leadership team has been dispatched to campuses. They have been serving and supporting and doing rotations to make sure that scholars are receiving services and that they are able to have a sense of normalcy regardless of our shortage in staff.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what is being done so that my child receives the vision services that are due to him, and who can she contact, or she or he can contact? So you did address that.
But I can just say supplemental services are being provided. We've used grant funds to provide accommodations. Let's just say you have a scholar who needs Braille transcription, or you need magnifying, or that scholar should be using a magnifying glass, or there's some enlarged print. We are using our grant funds to purchase those supplements, pull those resources and make sure they are at the campus level, supporting our teachers in implementing that in the classroom setting in the absence of the vision teacher to provide the direct services. But that does not stop us from providing those supplemental aids while we're searching for an individual.
Good. And the last one that was submitted via Thought Exchange, will there be in-person parent sessions offered this year for special education?
I would love to. I would love to. I've already, at the end of the school year last year, I spoke with Miss Davis about what can we do to make these events be a little bit more frequent. So we have already started that conversation about having some more opportunities to connect with our parents and give you all continued information and training and support when it comes to special education. So yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Now we will change my banner to this one. And go to the. Now I'm going to scroll back up because I did see some questions that were asked earlier.
Okay.
A parent says my son says he's not getting help at the high school. So this is one of the questions I was asking regarding if they're talking about something specific, perhaps they need to contact, like you said, maybe the coordinator or someone at the campus, because you said every campus has a special education staff person who can then provide hopefully support or answers regarding that particular scholar at that campus.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Another one, same thing. Another thing. Miss Chafin, I don't know the process in which you were talking about to make a request, so I do apologize. Okay, so this question is from Chrissy Lacey. For students in skill, are there other elective options? Oh, let me put it on the screen.
Okay.
Are there other elective options? And where am I? Oh, for them besides art and computers. My son is in 8th grade and he has not been given the opportunity to try band or theater arts.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lacey, for that question. I would suggest that you have a conversation during your scholars IEP meeting to discuss some of those interests. Because what happens is we don't know all of the interest of our scholars unless we ask those questions. And so sometimes in the hustle and bustle of the day, not to make any excuses, we just schedule our scholars in what's available. But if your scholar is interested in band or theater arts and is able to participate in those and get exposure to those, a part of transition, your scholar's in 8th grade, so he's at the point where we're going to be talking about transition services. If that is something that is of interest to him and that he has an opportunity to excel in, then that's something that can be implemented in his schedule of services for IEP. Absolutely. So I suggest that you advocate for your scholar, discuss that in the next ARD meeting about what schedule of services and what electives are open for your scholar.
I think this is there's another question before this, but this is related. It says he did art and computers in 6th grade, computer in 7th, and now he's doing both again in 8th.
Okay. I would just suggest reach out to the campus. It could just be a scheduling conflict and maybe there's just some adjustments that need to be made. But if you're specifically considering or have an interest in band or theater arts, especially if that's something that he participates in after school or shows an interest in, I definitely say, have a conversation, provide that input when it's time to have that annual IEP or request one.
Thank you. All right. Has the district thought about hiring a few board-certified behavioral analysts to help manage autism behaviors? This would be beneficial to scholars and students to ensure they are successful in the classroom.
Very good question, Miss Sullivan. We do not currently have any board certified behavior analysis. We do have behavior specialists that work at the district level to support across the campuses. We do have a few individuals who are interested in ABA. We know that this is an area of concern because we are having a lot of our scholars attending ABA therapy and are not able to attend school full time. So I would love to have some discussions with our some of my supervisors to talk about how we can potentially support scholars with behavior analysis. But I will tell you, in the meantime, our district curriculum for our self-contained setting is Teach Town. It is based on and created by a board certified behavior analysis. And so the strategies, the tools, the communication, the all of those pieces are embedded into Teach Town so that our general education teachers are able to provide some of those behavioral supports and strategies throughout the school day.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
From D. Williams. I know who that is. Some of these people, I know who they are. Hey, y'all.
Me too. I know all of them there.
Well, I know you know all of them. See, I know some of them. I don't know them all. But hey, y'all. Okay, so after 2 years of learning loss, how or will the special education reevaluate our scholars who have passed or passing their goals?
Okay, so that's two parts there. So any student who is receiving services through special education, it should be receiving a 3-year eval. Every 3 years, we redo their reevaluation. I know during COVID, while we were closed and then we were doing virtual school, it was hard to get those evaluations done. But I have told my team, our students, we need to know where our scholars are. We need to know where they are after the last 2 years of having virtual school and then some inconsistency with, coming to school, not coming to school. Any of those situations can happen. So we need to really know whether our scholars have experienced any learning loss, if there is any regression, and that comes with that 3-year reevaluation. So our diagnosticians are working very hard to meet that expectation with getting our scholars who are up for their 3-year reevaluation. Also, during your scholars annual art, if you are not up for a reevaluation, the diags are going to kill me when I say this, but I'm just going to say we must advocate for our scholars. If you are concerned about some area that your scholar is not experiencing any growth or development, you just feel like there's something else there, you do have a right to request additional evaluation. Again, I say the diagnosticians are going to kill me, but that's the truth. We owe it to our scholars to advocate for them. And then another part of the annual IEP process is to review the progress of the previous year's goal. And so a part of that is to say, how did the scholar perform or meet the goals from the 21-22 school year? If they mastered the goal, then we should now move on, create another goal for them to master. If they have not mastered the goal, how are we going to address this goal and objectives to ensure that they do meet that goal? And if it's not a goal that is not appropriate for the scholar, why are we continuing it? So the annual art process is the time to review the progress from the previous year and make new suggestions and determinations for that scholar. And that happens outside of the evaluation process. It's just looking at the progress of our scholars each year. We should not be carrying forward goals that are not appropriate. We should be making those decisions based on the scholar's needs each year.
Now, I know you said earlier this type of thing can be addressed in an IEP, but she wants to know, and she's asking too many questions. I'm just kidding, Ms. Williams. No, you're not. No, you're not. How can we include our special scholars in other electives like cheer, band, etc., without an IEP?
So each campus has clubs. There are at the elementary, middle, and high school level, there are clubs that scholars can participate in. So if there's a cheerleading squad at your scholar's campus, or if there are any other clubs where you talk about orchestra or any type of fine arts that you want your child to be included in, reach out to the campus and say, this is something that my child will be interested in, especially when it comes to our students who are very vulnerable, but music therapy is something that we provide as their schedule of services. When it comes to those things, a scholar may be able to participate and thrive. And so know what's happening, know what's available at the campus level. And then if they're able to participate in those tryouts, we have our paraprofessionals who can accompany them. After school, I know that might be a little bit more difficult, so there may be some things that need to be worked out at the campus level for support. But Absolutely. I think it's very beneficial for you to just kind of know what's happening on the campus and ask those questions. Now, as it relates to Special Olympics, I shared the sports that we're involved in, but we've had a few parents and a few of our leadership team just ask about us having cheerleaders to take and accompany to the basketball games and our track and field events. So that's something that we can explore together as a department.
Okay. Guess who it's from? We she is our council of PTA's president, so she can ask whatever she wants. We are hearing the changes the special education department is taking, but what ways can we as the PTA work with the department to help families feel supported and heard? That's a great question.
Well, Miss Williams, it sounds like you need to get on my calendar. It sounds like that you need to make a phone call to Miss Deborah Reed to get on my calendar so we can sit down and have a discussion, because we would love to tap in with PTA and make some connections. It would be that would be amazing.
Yes,
So just phone a friend.
absolutely. For the ARD meetings, will we receive the IEP paperwork in advance of the meeting? How many days in advance are we supposed to receive it?
That's a really good question. I hope everyone is listening. Parents, it is just the best practice that we send out. I got to tell the truth. I have to tell the truth. You should be receiving your IEP paperwork as a best practice 5 days prior to the ARD. That means that your IEP has been drafted. It does not mean that we are telling you this is what's going to happen, but a proposed IEP should be sent out, best practice, 5 days prior to the ARD, for you to be able to review the information that is going to be proposed at the meeting so that you all can have a valuable discussion. So again, I say hold us accountable. If that is not happening, if you have received an invite for an IEP meeting and it's 2 weeks out and it's getting like the week before and you haven't received anything, reach out to your case manager and ask some questions. Absolutely.
Okay. Another question, final question from Ms. Williams. Will the special education department do special events in April for, is this neurodiversity?
Yes. So we have a department calendar where we are wanting to highlight all of the exceptionalities that our scholars have. We specifically have in the past highlighted Down syndrome, autism awareness, but of course we know we have scholars who have eligibility for a variety of exceptionalities. So we've drafted a calendar to address some of a lot of the exceptionalities that our scholars are exhibiting within our school district to ensure that we're highlighting all of the exceptionalities. So the answer to that question is yes, we are going to be doing events, visiting campuses, giving out information for awareness for many of the exceptionalities that our scholars have in the district.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Here we have a question. Does the 504 program follow the students from one school to another?
Absolutely. 504s are reviewed annually, and they should be revisited each year for appropriateness. Sometimes 504s are done at an emergency level. For example, a scholar may have broken their leg and may need to have some accommodations to support them around the campus. Or a scholar may have a 504 for dyslexia services or ADHD. And so those 504s should be reviewed annually, and they should be just for appropriateness. Are there any accommodations that need to be adjusted, taken away, added? And then each year it'll go. So if the child is in 5th grade and next year is going to 6th grade, that 504 transfers over to that campus. We have a digital data management system where all of our campuses have access to it. So in addition to a hard copy, it is housed in a database, electronic database.
Thank you. Let's see. Yes, right?
Yes, she is. She's our secondary compliance administrator. So she works with secondary. She's supporting our case managers to ensure that they are writing immaculate IEPs.
All right. This question says, are these extra activities going to be labeled special education? I know my child would be interested, but if labeled wrong, he would not participate.
No, that's the easy way to answer it is whatever the courses are that are in the system. They all have a course: English reading, math, Spanish one, whatever those courses are. Those are the courses. So, for example, when I spoke earlier about our transition class. That class has historically been known as like the 18 plus special education. Well, we've changed the name to shift. We're proposing that that name be change to shift so that it puts a focus on future learning, functional living, and not giving the stigma. We don't want to focus on any label on a scholar. We want to focus on what they are able to do. So we want our scholars to have the same access to courses and activities that are not labeled as special education. So one thing we specifically done is ask that our teachers remove anything in their classroom or in the hallway that says special education, because our scholars are gen ed first. And so whatever is appropriate for our general education scholars is appropriate for special education. So no, we are not labeling any courses special education.
Thank you. Regarding 504 reviews, if students are 15 and above, are they required or is it mandatory to attend the 504 meeting?
They should be invited. They should be invited to participate in their meeting. Now, when it comes to special education, a scholar should be invited to attend their meeting right at that transition age. We want to start incorporating them into their meeting so that they can share what they're interested in and what they want to do. So they should be invited. We should be asking them to attend, and we should be creating provisions for them to be there, even if it's just for the first 10 or 15 minutes to share what they're interested in and how they feel the services are working for them. At the 504 level, I do not believe that it is mandatory, but in special education, we do have to show proof, documented proof that we've invited and created a space for our scholars to participate in their IEP meeting.
All right. Now, I don't currently see any more questions, but there are some kudos and things like that. People are loving the gen ed first. And I believe this was put up here after you stated that the courses would not be labeled special education. What is this? Oh, I appreciate that because the older they get, the more they feel embarrassed of having a different title.
Absolutely.
Definitely can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that, since I don't see any more questions, and it's 7:01, this is like perfect timing, isn't it? I think it is. Everyone knows what my favorite banner is, right? What's my favorite banner? This one. This is the one that lets everyone know that we are so appreciative of you all for joining us for this live, our very first Digital Parent University. And yes, there will be more. One thing I mentioned to Ms. Turner is that I'm going to start doing these community exchanges, okay? And some of them are going to highlight different departments. And one of them, I think the first one is probably going to be student services. Special education happens to be under student services. So is transportation. So is PEIMS, like student information. All of that is under student services. So I plan to have our very first in-person community exchange with those particular departments. So if you have questions about any of those, you can come to that event. When is it going to be? Not sure yet, but when I know, you will know. And so we will still have digital parent universities, and we'll probably also have another digital special education themed parent university perhaps in the spring, and then also we'll have in-person opportunities. And I don't know, I mean, there may be some other ways that your department could do other things. I don't know. But we will definitely be in person this school year. Let me make sure I don't see any other questions. Oh, this is Miss Davis. I am so honored to be a part of the CHISD Special Education Department under Ms. Turner's direction. We are working every day to be sure we are tapped in. And Davis, she was at Bray. She was also a parent liaison, so I worked with her. She's excellent. So she's an excellent addition to your department. So absolutely.
The whole team is amazing. You all are in great hands.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And thanks for presenting your vision. All right. Well, with that, I need to go back to my banner, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening. All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.